Welcome everyone to creating a composable site with personalization on the edge. I am Brittney Postma, a developer experience engineer here at Netlify, and I have with me Tim Benniks, the principal developer advocate at Uniform. How are you today, Tim?
All good. And I must say, there was some fancy intro music.
I know, it's so good. The music is actually from StreamYard, but we've got some nice, cool things that Adam's been working on for us, and it's awesome. So glad to be here and have everyone talking with us today. We're going to be using some fancy cutting edge stuff. So you want to give a brief introduction, maybe who you are, and then what we're going to be looking at today?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Tim Benniks, and I was born and raised in Amsterdam, but now I live in France and I work in English. So if anything sounds weird, that's where this comes from. And so I work at Uniform, and I'm a developer advocate, so quite close actually to what you are doing, Brittney, at Netlify. And today I want to show stuff where we are basically using Uniform and Netlify. And it's like a really lovely match. And so basically what we're going to do, first let's chat a little bit about what composability is. That's kind of this whole new rage, right? So we went from old school sites, then we get all this headless stuff going, and then we have companies like Netlify in the mix. And then how do you get all these headless things together and on Netlify? Well, you have to compose with these things. It's like a little puzzle, right? And so at Uniform, we're kind of helping you with that. So I want to talk about how that works, what we do with that. And then from there, because you have all these different headless sources together in a lovely mixing pot on Netlify, we also now have Netlify features where we can basically use the Netlify Edge with its personalization and its kind of dynamic rendering of stuff that we can then put on that website and then configure that through Uniform. So Uniform kind of integrates with all these things. And so I'm just really excited to show this stuff, especially because I think it's still quite bleeding edge, like on all sides. It's kind of like living on the edge by using Edge. Like it's a bit cheeky, but there we go.
Absolutely, yeah. And these are experimental features. We'll go in saying that off the cusp. So.
But this is that's so nice that we work in this kind of field where we can use these things and they're actually real, they're quite usable. And we couldn't have done this, let's say 2 years ago, or maybe a year ago. This just didn't exist.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm really excited to show this stuff and hope it doesn't explode on us. And if it does, it's a live stream, we'll just fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's live coding.
There you go.
So we'll show how we can go about fixing it.
Yes,
And I mean,
exactly.
this stack too is just so great. So we've got Next.js as the UI layer.
Yeah,
We've got Netlify Edge, and then we've got Uniform, kind of like you said, putting the puzzle pieces together, composing
exactly.
all of these things.
And
That's
what we're actually
amazing.
using is in this system, I have BigCommerce as a headless e-commerce platform. I have Contentful as a CMS, and the Cloudinary is a DAM or image system. And so we're kind of composing with these puzzle pieces to make the website running through Next.js. But then we're using the edge to do some extra magic on top in Netlify.
Fantastic. I'm very excited to get started and see how all of this works.
Yeah, so maybe what I can do is literally just share my screen and
Okay.
show how it's kind of all composed, and then I'll also explain why. Because this is just my personal site, and it's not really at scale. And so we could have built exactly this with just code and no uniform.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you start to scale this stuff and you have content editors and people that actually use that website for their business, it's a completely different story because these people don't understand Contentful, or they might, but maybe not. And then they also have to understand the DAM and like how do they actually make sure that they have a lovely experience if you don't have an orchestration hub to put it all together.
That's what I was going to say. Is like you're learning multiple systems to these people that don't really understand these systems. So this gives them one UI. You kind of learn like how it works here, and it puts everything together.
Yeah, because
All right.
generally this stuff is quite abstract. Right. So just put
Yes.
my screen on and then I'll just show
Okay.
you.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So basically, you have a few levels of composing with these headless tools, right? The simplest form is literally in your front end in Next. You connect to two systems and then you have the code on the page and you run it. But then you cannot really content edit much. Then you hard code your templates. And then the next one is integrations from your CMS integrates to something else. And then you kind of have to know what it integrates with. And then you kind of code it through that way. But then your content editors can do a little bit more, right? And then you have the next level, which is orchestration. And this is where Uniform is, where the content editor doesn't have to understand the other system. And it kind of just works the same way. And the cool thing is, for the developer, it works the same way, but for the content editor as well. So content editor and developer have like complete freedom. And so actually, I just saw your comment. You're from Holland, which is
Yeah.
basically where I'm from. But then
I know,
and so
but not
how
really.
does that work? Like just a little in between.
So yeah, just a little conversation here. I know that we've been on a couple of streams together, and I think we've talked about this before, where Holland, Michigan is a Dutch settlement. So a lot of people settled here from Amsterdam. And so we've got this nice little Dutch town here. We've got tulip time in May. We've got windmills everywhere. We do. It's a big it's a
So
big thing
basically,
here.
my ancestors went to Michigan and did the same thing they did at home.
Basically, yes. And there's like
So
wooden
Dutch
shoes,
do
there's
that.
Dutch dancing, it's a big Dutch culture here. It's awesome.
Also, your last name Postma is one of the most Dutch
It
names.
is. Yes.
Mine is not really, well, little. And actually, Benniks kind of means am nothing.
Am nothing. Oh no.
So
I
probably my ancestors were very like lazy, or they didn't work, or they were just called that name. And now you find this name in America quite a bit because probably people migrated.
People migrated. Yep. And
Anyway, that was,
here people ask about my last name, and they ask if you're related to someone, and there's like 10 different families, and you're never related to the person that they're asking you about.
oh yeah, of
It's
course.
insane. All right, small tangent.
Anyways,
Let's get back.
cultural stuff is fun. Anyway, so
Yes.
how about I just show you what we'll be looking at today. And so this is the Uniform platform. So without showing you all the things, I'll just go to the website and show you what that looks like, because then you have kind of a reference. So let's just go to my homepage quickly without actually explaining you what's happening. I'll just go here and then click preview. And so now we're actually going into the next preview mode that works both. That's actually built for sale, but it works fine on Netlify. And then here you go. So this is my personal site that I built in Next.js. And because I clicked on preview in Uniform, it has this little icon here that says, hey, I'm listening for changes from anywhere. Whatever system changes, I'm going to show you this. And so basically, this is just a site about me. Hey, I'm a conference speaker. I'm a DevRel. Look at my videos. And here I work at Uniform, and there's like my latest talks and some writing. And most of this stuff comes from different places. Like the image is from Cloudinary, but this copy comes from Contentful. But the fact that this is a hero comes from Uniform.
Okay.
And so what Uniform is really good at is actually saying, okay, so this is a highlighted videos component. And then the videos itself, they come from Contentful and YouTube. But this component comes from Uniform, and it says this video needs to be big and the other two need to be small. So how you compose and design your page sits in Uniform. And then the data in your CMS is, or in your e-commerce or wherever, is really simple, and you just point to it. And so in 5 years, when I have a new design, I can just point to these data sources and they're super clean and easy. So we haven't added stuff to the data model to say, make this one big in this component, because there's no sense in having this component with these 3 items in your CMS. It's just, I want the videos in there. It's like a simple bucket of content I pick from.
And as you said, it's listening for changes. So if you wanted to change your layout in Uniform, you could go and edit something and it would automatically show that.
Do that now so I can show you. Let's see, we can put this to the side. Yep. And how about, let's make this slightly smaller, otherwise it's don't have that much. So basically, what we can do is, let's say we want this one on the top, for example, and I hit save. And now it just moved. This one is now on the top and the hero is below. But this is actually just a production code. So this kind of just works in here. And well, how about we change that back, but it doesn't look super awesome. Hit save. And now it changed back. And that's how fast this is. And this is kind of a preview that works across different sources, because we just changed, like if I wanted to, I can kind of change the image here. And this is now connected to Cloudinary. You can see the little icon. And this one is connected to Contentful. You see this little icon. And so here I can just say, you know what? I don't want an image for my hero. I just want it to be a title, right? And so the fact that there's a different variation is in Uniform. But actually, oh, I see Alex. Hey, dude,
I know.
The real horse is in the house.
Yes, front end horse shout out.
This guy is so awesome. Nice to you here, dude. Anyways, and you can just kind of move it back. And so what this does is showing you that in Uniform, you control the layout of the things, what comes from where, how it looks, and then the data itself. And I actually click on this and go to Contentful. Wait, maybe I'll do another one, like a video, for example. I hope I'm logged in. This is the demo goal. Oh, here we go. So right, this is data I can use in 10 years. It's super simple. It's a slug to connect to it, the title, publication date, the poster image, and like the YouTube ID and a bit of description, right? And it has some tags. It's like an interview.
So I think I was misunderstanding and I was wrong. So you actually go out to Contentful to edit your content. So how might that work if you were like an e-commerce site and do you have people that would maybe manage Contentful and people that would manage the website in Uniform?
So the more you scale, the more you see those things happen. Like I've worked with customers in the past that literally had content teams to reorganize how the search results look, because these shoes cannot be next to that bag. Right? They were like wizards in this indexing field. Or you have people where you say, okay, this is the approved copy for the whole world of this watches website. Yeah. Right? And that happens quite a lot. And so if you do it this way, you can kind of have your separate teams work in their tool of what they like. They can go into a commerce system like a PIM, right, to deal with products. They will enrich the products as much as they can to make these products perfect. And then you just, when you build a page, that's a different person potentially, and that is just connect to whatever you connect to. And so if you're a small time like me with this website, if I wanted to make a new hero, which we'll be doing in a sec to show some personalization related things, I would literally just say, you know what, write new. And if I do that, I actually go to Contentful and it is already connected to Uniform. So there's actually a new thing here. So let's just make one.
And really, you're just filling in an input form. So you don't even have to go through Contentful, like figure out how to add a new field. You are really just kind of learning.
It's already set up.
Yeah.
So when I publish, let's see if that has already connected now to this. Oh, there it is. Now we had save on this end.
So fast.
And there it is. Now my new content is in. It's pretty crazy. And
Yes.
so you can actually separate the concerns of the people and the tech and where your content live. And you can now scale it up. Because if I don't like Contentful anymore, which probably won't happen, but if, I will just add another integration. And so we haven't actually seen that yet. So let's actually go to these integrations here. So right now I have a few. I haven't shown you the products yet, but I'll do that in a sec. But there's actually a whole bunch. Like we have a lot. Like this is an experimental where I'm connecting to Markdown files in GitHub. So if you don't have a CMS, just go local, write your stuff, and connect it in Uniform.
Even just as a personal developer, that sounds fantastic to be able to do that.
Also for non-personal developers, what if you had a whole documentation in DocuSource? And then you put all your Markdown files in the content folder, right? You can actually now make a personalized documentation site with Uniform, and you compose what documentation shows where based on user actions through this Markdown plugin. And so you can do many different things. And well, like we have different things, like we have a whole bunch of analytics-like things. We have CDNs like Netlify. This one is added, as you can see. So
Alex said Uniform is super cool. This feels like magic. It really does. I wanted to highlight that. It's
it's
so
funny.
magical.
When I was on Alex's stream back in the day, we had this potential, but we didn't have to show this to show yet. So it was kind of clunky, but we got there. But now it's much further. So maybe I should go back on his stream and show. But
Absolutely.
We'll do that another time. But anyway, so we have different types of integration. For example, here's the Netlify, right?
Yep.
So if you actually go, like if I've added Netlify, I can just click open site and I go to my Netlify site here.
To your live one. Nice.
Or I can say open in Netlify and have a look at whatever I get to do with my builds. And then when I actually hit publish, or when I actually publish a composition, it also knows that here and it just shows you, hey, I'm building. And you can see the whole build log of everything.
Those are really nice integrations.
And on top, because you have the Edge, we also get lots of fun stuff from Netlify in our personalization engine. So you can actually say, hey, the country name is France. And basically, Netlify gave that to us. Right? And the
Through the Dino Edge.
Oh yeah, we'll show a lot of soon. But basically what we're doing here is it's more of a platform. It's not at the center of everything. It's kind of, you could replace it if you want to, because you can do the whole thing just with code. But then nobody but the developer can do anything here. So we're kind of just working around these things. And if I now added Vercel or Cloudflare to this, you will also get these kind of things, but then slightly different based on whatever they offer. And so integrations can go in many different directions.
Okay.
And so we have commerce, like a ton of them. Content, like these are all CMSs. And some of my favorites, like the Prismic and others. And then we have data-related stuff, like Clearbit and Segment. They're really good for personalization and analytics. And we actually are now also able to make one of these compositions I just showed you and then send it with HubSpot as an email. Because why not?
Yes.
And then you can personalize the emails through web tech. So you don't actually, you can use Next.js to do that.
Oh, that sounds so nice. Email is one of those things that I've stayed away from because I've heard it's just a pain.
Oh yeah. If you're as long in the game as me, you don't want to touch email. Like, look, this is bad. And so anyways, I can show you more, but we don't have to. So for everyone in the chat, if you're like, wow, this is fun, you can make a new account and the onboarding just gives you 3 projects. They're starter kits. You can select this and it will deploy something for you to Netlify, for example, or on StackBlitz. And there's a whole project in there with code and also stuff in Uniform. So you can literally just get started in 3 minutes. It's crazy.
That is super nice. Because like setting up all of these other things, you would have to have environment variables that you have to integrate into Uniform, right?
Starters will give you that. Like we literally have create variables like a button. You can just copy paste.
Oh, nice. That's amazing.
It took a while to get there, but now that we have this onboarding, it's going to get so much easier.
Yes.
And so let me quickly show you how we actually get to all this stuff, right? Because these seem like components. Like I named these 2 columns, but how does that work, right? And so you can actually, sorry, did you want to say something?
Someone said that they hope there's a Notion integration in the future. Is that something that's working, or is it there already?
It's on the list. We haven't built it yet. There's because lots of people use Notion, but also Asana and those kind of, even Jira, who knows, right? The fun thing is you can just make your own. It's really easy. And we have a whole documentation site of how to make your own integration. And the only thing is it's in React. So you build a little Next.js app that you either host yourself statically or you give it to us and we host it. And that integrates to Uniform through some iframes. And so you can assign that to your own team, so you can have like a lot of personal ones that you can just build. I've done that. Like, we didn't have Cloudinary officially before, but I wanted to use it, so I just built it.
That's awesome that you have like the documentation there to do that, so people can just customize it how they need it too.
Yeah,
really good.
Here, custom integration, and we just released a whole new. Oh, that needs a bit of zoom.
Let's see, docs.uniform.
App, and then you scroll all the way down to the end, and it says custom integration. And we basically have one. It's based on Next.js because we built a really nice library that you can use, and then it looks like it's a uniform integration. You have our input fields, our search boxes, and the whole thing, and it just works extremely well with React. So that's how we build it, and it kind of explains all the things, and you can literally save the data from your app into the uniform composition, and there you go. And for example, like this Cloudinary one, if you look at what we save, and this is actually a nice next step to the next bit. So when we look at the source of what this thing is, basically here, I have a slot, which is a placeholder for other components. Oh, is this big enough?
There we go.
There we go. And so basically, we have a hero component, and it has a parameter that is a contentful entry, and it only shows the ID. That's it. And then we also have a Cloudinary parameter that shows a little bit more. So when I select one, it gives me a few things, a few extra things. And then here's my video highlights, which only has a title. And so you would say, hey, but Uniform is not a CMS, right? But actually, this title is very much specific to my composable, like my front end, right? It's a thing in the front end that says, hey, these are video highlights. There's no need to put in the CMS. The videos themselves are actually IDs again that you get to query later on. That's these. And so each component can actually have, well, I have to zoom out a bit now. They can all have parameters, right? Oh, I see a comment from Kev. So I think if you want to do this with Vue, it's totally possible because our SDK is also for just vanilla JavaScript. And the only thing you'll have to do is when you save a form, you just say set value in our SDK, and it sets the value to Uniform, and it uses all the internal stuff you need. So we just build it in React because most people use that. But if you wanted to build it in PHP and host it yourself, it's not a problem.
And so you said it's a static site too, so you could really build it in anything static.
Anyway, and if it's not static, it's fine too, because I've built ones recently, like the one with the GitHub Markdown files. I use a serverless function in Netlify to query GitHub with my authentication, get all the stuff, and then push it back. And so it's a static site with serverless functions, and that basically gives you all you need. Anyways, so you can add parameters to components, and there's a whole bunch. Like in this case, I have a big commerce one, or I have a contentful or a Cloudinary. So the more integrations you add, you can actually just create these yourself. And we have like a one single file entry, or you can select multiple, or you can actually query something. And you can make your own types.
The styling is in the markup, right? Like in your code.
Yeah, and
for all of this.
We literally give you a uniform style guide NPM package. And only if you wanted to do a call out or an input, you just say import input from uniform style guide. And it has TypeScript, so this explains you all the props, and you just use it. So it all looks the same.
So there are components that are coming in that you can put props into to style them.
Yeah, for example, I made this one. Like this little one here, I made this custom with the uniform style guide. This is the one for a CMS. I just made a version for the DAM that shows an image, but it's the same thing. If I now wanted to, let's say, query my latest talks, to do all this stuff, we literally give you a query a thing component, and the only thing you have to do is add the data to it, and you can query. And you can actually, in this one, you can configure what you want to query. In this case, I only want to query talks here because talk is
Okay.
a content type in my Contentful website or in my Contentful backend. And you can share, you can change it all up. And here, in this case, I'm looking for a blog and I have like an order, but I fixed the order in my settings, for example.
To make it be ascending.
Yeah. So we can show some code if we want soon. I just wanted to get this out of the way because it's kind of a fun demo, but it's also quite abstract.
Yes, and if you're just looking at code, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. So it's nice to see this demo up front of like what's happening.
And so we haven't actually discussed any of the personalization and Edge stuff just yet.
Yeah.
We are mainly just building something now. And I actually destroyed my hero by saying Netlify is awesome. But maybe we keep it. How about we keep it? For now.
Netlify is awesome.
If I press publish now, my website will be live with this, but who knows? It's all good. This is the stream, right?
Oh, that's funny.
So how about now? What you're looking at now, actually, is that this whole thing is kind of a magical wrapper around Contentful. I've only shown you Contentful stuff, right? So that might be like a little overkill. But the moment you add extra sources, then it becomes cool. So how about here we add some products, right? And so again, my layouting stuff is in Uniform. So I'm going to give it a dark background. That doesn't belong in any CMS or in a commerce engine. It doesn't know about a blue background for a list of products. It doesn't care. And so we're going to call this.
I just noticed we have the British spelling of color here. So is this how the prop is spelled?
Just how the prop is spelled. But let me just show you. This
that's interesting.
Yeah, I literally just went into parameters and I would say background color.
Oh, and you can edit your prop names too.
Oh, yeah, of course. Let me
nice.
Fix this. And so I just say it's light and dark and it's required. And so now we just save that prop. And I think I might have to refresh.
You probably have to refresh it.
Yeah. With other features, I don't have to because of the magic of React, but now I had to. Oh, yeah, we didn't even. Okay, so add some products. And there it is. It's fixed.
There it is. Nice.
Better now, right? Up to you. All right, so how about we say... Now we're selecting this from BigCommerce, but if you're a content editor, you have no idea if this is Shopify or BigCommerce or Commerce Tools. It just gives you a search. And I want to go to laptops. And I'm going to select some Apple stuff. And you see, this is a different type of component where you can select 2 or 3 of something.
Okay.
And this literally comes from, this is also in an iframe. We use our own SDK to build these integrations. And this whole thing, that's like I can literally search on Macs and it shows me that. This is all, you get this for free from Uniform SDK. So you just give the data to it. That's it. You can make your own search function to match whatever you want. So let's accept. And now this is there, and let's hit save. Now the preview gives me my products. And
it's like magic.
Isn't that easy? It's cool.
Yeah.
Right? So now we have preview connected to BigCommerce, Contentful, Cloudinary, and Uniform, and Netlify. It's insane. It's completely agnostic.
Is multi-language supported as well? There was a question.
Yes, there is. I might not want to turn it on and destroy my current website, but I can show you. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Add a locale here. And what this does, if I add a locale inside the interface to select a component, there's like a little subtree coming in. And that subtree says, you just either select this item or that item based on the language that you have in your other system, which means the other system can deal with its own language versions however it wants. And you, as the content editor, just have to select another item based on that. And then you can figure out how to query that in your integration. And it's relatively simple. So what we haven't discussed now is how we actually query this stuff and how we then put it on the website. Because if you look at the source of what comes out of here, let's just skip the navigation because it's pretty big. But like in my hero here, there's just an ID. But it doesn't say Netlify is awesome. This is a subtitle yet, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting a, let's have a chat. Look what Adam is saying here. Can we do workflow approval? That's on the list of one of the first things to come in, because that's literally the one thing The moment you scale this up and you go to bigger companies, you want this stuff. And so what we have done first is roles. So certain roles can actually not publish a composition or not edit it or not edit a certain block. So the roles, like the access control is here, but now the workflows are the next. Because at scale, like we've had customers that have 4 teams working on one composition. So you kind of want to say, okay, this one goes through, that's cool, but the rest is versioned or something.
Yep.
So to go from this to this, like here's an all-in ID. The whole source set that I'm using for this responsive image is not here. There's just some data. The same with my product. It says Brittney's product. Sure, those ones, that's easy. I just copy that in here with the code. But this is literally just that product ID that I selected.
Some IDs, yep.
But now I have this little tool because, of course, I use this for a demo. This is the JSON that actually lives in my code base. And you see here it says Netlify is awesome. Oh, I see Alex.
The other Alex.
The other Alex is in the chat. So there's kind of a magical step happening from here are the products, and it actually shows you like the image file, the zoom image, and the price, and the whole thing is here. Like this is full of data, and this is empty of data. And so to actually go towards that part where you, oh, let me just zoom it all correctly to close this. Okay, here we go. So basically, we have like an in-between API layer, and we call this enhancing. So literally what that does is it sees something of a certain type. Let's say it's a contentful type or a big commerce type. And it gets some information like the ID of a product or an entry or something. You get with NPM, you can actually select a package for that from Uniform, and that will query that item for you, fetches it back, gives you the data, and then you get the chance to actually change these things into the props that your component needs. And that sounds very crazy right now, but I'll show you. So I have done something quite cheeky here. I have this enhancement layer, this API, unified API layer in between. I've put this on a serverless function somewhere because I don't want my front end to know about anything that comes. I literally just want to call one URL for one composition and get my data completely clean. Because now this website you're looking here on the right is Next.js. I built this last week because it was a Vue.js site before, and that also still lives. And I can build a Svelte site tomorrow, and this service just lives there and gives me content.
Oh, that is so great because you can just change out the UI layer and it doesn't matter.
I mean, you told me this had to be Next.js, right? There you go.
So you can just switch it up however you want. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so basically what I've done, I made an API called composition. So I just go to timbeniks.composition/API/composition. And then now comes a bit of magic. We actually have a uniform canvas package, because the thing you're seeing here, this whole thing, we call this canvas because you're painting on an empty canvas with fun stuff. And I have a few like API key, host, and project ID here. And those I will just use to make a uniform client. And that uniform client will then be able to, based on specific information, query something for me.
Here's the URL for that. I sent the URL out for your GitHub repo you're looking at.
Oh, awesome. I think it's actually open, so you should be able to have a look at this.
Yeah, I saw that it was public on there before I did.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I'm doing is I query the composition that I give to that URL. Oh, I cannot type. So if I actually go to the slug for the homepage, see how fast that is, by the way. That's really fun. You actually get Netlify is awesome. This is a subtitle. There it is. And so it went from that ID to this thing. And my Cloudinary now has like a whole source set fun stuff that I can just whack into an image tag or next image, and it just works. And so there's a whole bunch of extra data here that we didn't have before. And so my app queries this. And so how I do that is actually we have something we call enhance here. And so you can actually have a look at how I do that. We have something called enhancers. And so basically what it does, if it finds anything with a parameter type for BigCommerce, I have a BigCommerce enhancer, and I have a Prismic enhancer, and I have a contentful enhancer. And so when you have a look at what that actually is, can I go there? Yeah. So this is actually very simple. I literally create a client from the contentful package myself, which means this is completely open. It's agnostic. We don't tell you how to query. We don't query for you. You can do it yourself. So I actually have a client for preview and for normal. And I just make a client list and add it to the contentful query enhancer. And now you can also even update the query a bit because I want actually some metadata and some other stuff here. This now queries for me. So if I give this an entry ID from Uniform, it says, hey, this is a contentful one. Let me just grab this thing and query it for you and return it. And what that does is, this is the one thing that's you need one extra step. Because if I query from BigCommerce, Content Stack, Contentful, and Sitecore, all these things are going to be different. Every result is going to be quite crazy because rest, because no spec, go, right?
Yeah.
But my components, they've been built like a year ago. They don't know about this. Like, how would my components understand the structure of a specific CMS if I change it next week? So we had actually a compose function. And that compose function will go from the one, it pushes it into the next. And this is actually a model converter. So let's see if I can actually check that out. Contentful model converter. Here it is. And so I literally just grab the data that I get and morph it completely to what I want it to be. Like flatten the thing out completely. I add day, month, year if there's a date my way, because my website has dates like this, like super nice cards and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So for that, I don't want to parse it in my front end. No, I just want to get the day, month, and year from my back end. So I add that here. And I say, if it's an image, I'm going to go all that depth and just return with rather than image fields, file details, blah, blah, blah.
And you're also separating your concerns. So if you ever need to update something, you go to your data and you update it there, and then the UI will just call that
thing. And even rich text. If I get rich text from Contentful, I just use their document to HTML string function, and what comes out of this is just a string of HTML. So I remove all this stuff from my front end.
Now, one thing that was mentioned earlier was styling. So with this, you're getting your data from these serverless functions. So is the styling in the Next.js app with the props?
Yeah.
Okay.
So after this, you have normalized your whole architecture into one API call that gives JSON with the props that your components want. After that is just a front-end website. The only thing you have to do in your get static props is query it for a URL and then build. So maybe we can have a look at how I did that, and then it's time to do some fancy cloud stuff. How about that?
Okay. Woohoo.
Okay, so this is my website. This is VS Code, so this is on my local host. And so you can see this is normal in Next, right? You have your get static props. I'm actually looking at, hey, am I doing preview as yes or no? Your production website, you're not going to check for preview, but for mine, this works. That's why when I change something in Uniform, it also changes in my front end because preview is turned on. And so what I do is I fetch the composition with my get composition function, which is basically just a hook in React. And then whatever it does with that, it does something with metadata, with my OG tags and things like that. And then it just returns these things. And of course, you have get static paths because I render an SSG site. So I need to get all my paths. And that compositions URL that you just saw that I showed the code of also has a function that just returns all the URLs that I have. And so let's have a look at this one because this is the most fun. This is the only thing I have to do in my front end. I'm just fetching that compositions URL. I'm so sorry it says for sell, but it is.
But that also shows like the composability of this, right? You're using Vercel serverless functions, and we're hosting it on Netlify, so it's like pulling all of these things together. Yeah, they're separate.
And lots of people actually don't put this on for sale. They just put it in their get static props function. I can literally make my uniform client and all the queries and all this enhancing business that I just showed you in the other code can literally go and happen in here. Like I have lots of projects where I just say, make a new canvas client for the slug that I have, get me my composition, enhance it a little bit, or don't enhance because I just need some text. And then it works. I just wanted to separate it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I literally just query it for that slug, and I always query the draft version because it's my own website, so I don't care. And then I also have some other compositions that I sometimes might want to query, so a specific video thing or metadata stuff where I literally just map everything to, structured data and whatever. It's really quite simple. And from that, there's one last bit that we haven't talked about is the composition and the slot components that Uniform gives you. So this is actually where it becomes super easy to use. You add composition as a component that you just load from here, from Uniform, Canvas, React, and you give it that data that we just queried, and we say, this is your resolver. And can we go there? Yes. So because it gets the composition that says, this is the type hero and the type highlighted videos and the type products. I will just say, oh, when I get the type hero, return my imported hero here and dynamically render that with React. And so there's basically a little function that just says, okay, my composition, let me just go there and show you. When we shoot the source here, when my composition says type hero, that little bit of code will actually just now say, oh, so it's type hero, right? Let me just return that imported hero file in React and then render that through our SDK as a dynamically rendered next. Or
this
React.
Isn't generated, right? You created this file.
I do that on purpose myself.
Okay.
If we change our approach, like right now, you don't really know what comes from things, and you could actually have wrapper components and extra contexts. And so we basically just made this ourselves. But if we had like better type checks, we could actually render this for you or can generate. For now, we don't because you need more control, right? Because if it's rendered or generated and you cannot change it, it's kind of painful.
That's true.
And so basically then we have this slot component that basically just kind of for the name components, which is my slot. Here I have
a slot is the child. It's like the text that comes through, right?
So I have two components. I have two slots, a hero slot and a component slot. And basically it gives you a little bit of governance because in the header slot, I cannot add my hero, right?
Okay.
I cannot put it in there because it's only meant for the header. And I cannot add a header in my component slot. So you can kind of choose, and there are certain areas of the page that you can add different type of components to. So it gives you a bit more structure. And you can just say, okay, here I'm going to render my components, but my header, I'm rendering it somewhere completely different. Actually, I have a meta component, and I think it's probably happening in there. Oh, it's in my global header. Let's see. Where is that? I'm still new to React. We'll find it.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like you're new to React. You've got a lot of things going on.
You know what? The moment you start to get the base, the concepts, this is as easy to query in code in Svelte as in React or as in Vue. You just need to know the peculiarities of it, kind of.
Yes, I agree. And that the same thing goes with just JavaScript, like learning the fundamentals kind of transfers to all of these frameworks.
The loop is the loop, right?
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that, but that's another story. Like you see, I made this global header component, and in there I just chucked a little slot for header, and then it finds all the components that I specified in slot header, and it just renders them for me here. But if I wanted that stuff all before my little logo here, I could just say, okay, I'm just going to put it here, and now the slot is rendered before my logo. So you have control over where in the HTML you're rendering your components.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Brian, we haven't spoken in a while. It's nice to see him on the stream.
It's nice to see all the fun, friendly faces.
It's all our buddies. It's very cool. Loving that.
I know.
So basically, now we know everything. And there's more to go into, but it's just going to go too deep. It's crazy. So we haven't actually talked about the edge yet.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the personalization.
Exactly. And so now there's the next business. Actually, when I say in my runtime config use edge, we're actually going to render it on the edge. And if it's not on the edge, it's going to do standard, which means the personalization is going to happen on hydration time, which is, to be honest, it's fine. You can run anything on hydration, but if you have a slow machine and a slow network, you'll see a flicker, right? Because it takes a while to parse React, put stuff in it.
And so it would update, like you would get a flash of something and then it would update and change it.
That kind of sucks, right?
Yeah. Not a good user experience, right?
All right. So now that we have a whole bunch of different things, let's talk personalization. And we're doing personalization in a different way than a lot of companies do it. And we do that for a reason, because personalization is hard and it's rules-based and it's crazy. And I've seen bigger projects that had all these personalized pages based on actions of users, and they were basically PhD in rule makers, right? Because you have one component that has to show something else based on a certain set of rules. For each component, you have to add the set of rules to it, and it's just insane.
And
so
it probably trickles and like makes this waterfall effect.
Yeah, and then you don't actually know why something works a certain way. And so we've got it at a completely different angle, because we don't want to be calling an origin server at all. Because if you call an origin server, your page is white until the origin server comes back and says, this person fits in that group, let's render these things, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that.
Which also is a bad user experience.
Yeah. White pages to wait for something are bad.
And lose companies lots of money.
Oh, yes. And so we now, like before this lovely Edge thing came to be, we actually figured out, well, we can do this whole personalization business outside of using an origin server and all in the front end on the edge, on like the CDN edge, like the static rendering of Netlify. And so how we do that is you actually have here a personalization tab. And here you can do a whole bunch of kind of setup about your personalization. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And when you hit publish, it actually creates you a manifest file. And that manifest file, when you build your website, actually is queried from Uniform, and it's just a whole bunch of configuration about this user is from France. And if they're from France and it does certain actions, do something else. And so basically what we're doing is intent-based personalization. If a user does an action on the website, as in go to a URL, or is from a certain country, or clicks on a button, or has a query string in the URL, that's an action the user does. So if they go to a certain page 5 times, they probably think that's important. And so we have a little script that is like a tracker. It's a little bit like a Google Analytics type implementation where you can fire page loads, you can fire events, you can fire like these, somebody scrolled by something, so now I do something with analytics. We do the same by tracking what the user does. And based on whatever these actions are, we figure out, okay, that's going to be the intent. And now we're going to put them in a certain bucket and we're going to show certain things. And the lovely thing is with a Jamstack site or a statically rendered site, if you have your kind of this manifest file that we just created here in JSON in your code base, and you have all the variations of the things you might want to show also in your bundle, because it's a Jamstack site, your bundles are full of all the information. The only thing you have to do is match them up. So if I go to a certain page 5 times, I kind of accumulate some score against a certain intent. Like I do a whole bunch of conference speaking, right? And so my website has a bunch of conference speaking related stuff, but it's not only about that. But if you are a conference organizer, you might go to my speakers page. And then based on the fact that you did that, I now know as my uniform code, like, hey, he went to the speakers page. Let's just show some other things. For if I said, okay, if somebody goes to that page twice, it's important enough to change the hero. But that hero code is already in my bundle because it's a Jamstack site. Everything is pre-built. And so personalization is instant, literally. So we never have to go back and say, hey, this person did these things. What do I do now? And SSR it for me. It's already there. And like we just said, if you do this on hydration time, it could potentially be a bit slow because you can see this flicker of like swapping over because the JavaScript loaded a bit later. And now we use the edge to pre-render all the different variables you can show as personalization, and we stream them in through the edge. So now we have a highly dynamic page that is personalized, like rendered as fast as a normal Jamstack page, as in 40 milliseconds.
So even though we can render it statically, and the Jamstack, I mean, is kind of evolving. We've got this like decoupled architecture now, is what we're saying. Like we can actually server-side render some of these things on the edge, but you can do this with a statically generated site and still server render on the edge and update that data separately.
Actually, we server rendered it before, and that was a bit slow. So now what we do is I cannot go too deep because it's insane. I'm only just learning how we do it. But basically, we pre-render all the things. Okay. And we have kind of, in React and in Vue in our SDKs, there's like include tags. And so based on the personalization, the edge handler, the edge function, looks at whatever it's going to render. It looks at the personalization data, and it says, hey, this thing fits in that box based on the cookie of the user. So I'm just going to inject it and then serve it back to the user. So
without having to rebuild the entire site or
just
page.
Pushing it in.
Just that little, interesting
little chunk thing. And we do it really fast by streaming it. So literally the HTML built from top to bottom, and when it hits one of those things, it just streams it in and continues.
Literally streaming on the edge.
Yes, it's literally like a just-in-time kind of thing, and I cannot go deeper because it's
complex. It's
like my colleagues kind of thing, basically. It's insane.
Brilliant people working on it.
The lovely thing is we do this across edges, so this works on Cloudflare and Akamai the same. Anyways, we're here at Netlify, so I'm going to show you some Netlify stuff.
And Netlify runs on Dino, so are we going to be looking at Dino code?
Exactly. Well, probably not, because what we've done, we've made our edge worker stuff that changes whatever goes back to the user from the edge result or response. It's just normal JavaScript, but we had to Dinoify it because we couldn't rely on certain things that Node has and Dino doesn't have because of speed.
Yep. So Dino's built on web fetch APIs, and you can use vanilla JavaScript, you can use TypeScript, you can, I think, even use Go to write your edge function. So
we've done that, and we just had to slightly change what we did so Dino likes it, and certain things had to be like polyfilled a little bit, basically. And I'm really happy my colleague Seth just came into the chat.
I know. I saw
basically just help us if something dies.
Absolutely. And we have another question. Say the e-commerce part is with Shopify, but other registered users' content password from Contentful into Uniform. Can the authentication act as one? Not sure if I articulated the question properly, but so authentication on both.
So what you we'll go into that, and then I'll show the personalization. So basically, these integrations have some settings, right? If you go to Contentful here, I've logged in with Contentful as Tim now. But you could also potentially log in with Contentful as the admin of a certain space, and then everybody who uses this just uses that login kind of thing. But it's all off, so we don't store any of it. And in others, like for BigCommerce, where you don't really have these rules, it's just a store hash and an API token, and you can just query whatever that API token allows. But for Cloudinary, for example, we do give an API key here. It's only read-only, so copy-paste away. Basically, if I now open my Cloudinary window, it just tells me, oh, you're not logged in. Because in Cloudinary, there's lots of different access rules of who can see which image when. And so we have integrations that just have a blanket login, but we also have integrations where you can basically just open it up and it says, oh, you still need to log in to see your things. And then you click on it and go. And so, Derek, I hope that answered your question. If not, you can always come to our Discord and then we can chat.
Absolutely. Is there an easy link to that?
Yes. You can go to Uniform.to, so /Discord.
Nice, fancy redirect link.
Well, yeah, exactly that. And you know why I like it? I get my UTM link that says DevRel. So we know that they came from me.
Oh, nice. That
Anyway,
personalization, you're using it for benefit.
100%. Like, look, this is a perfect bridge. We go back to comfort speaking interest, and I actually made a UTM interest equals conference. If you go to a link with this, you're going to be pretty sure that somebody is interested in personalization, or sorry, in conferences, right? But I've also made another one. If the page I go to equals speaking, then they're probably also interested in that. And you can do a whole bunch of things. You can make groups, and you can say, okay, you need to actually go to speaking 4 times. And there's all these different approaches. Like you can actually have different gradations. If you go to speaking twice, you show another one. But if you add it 5 times, you can just, let's say it's e-commerce and somebody goes 5 times to a product page. You can literally say, just buy it. Just fill out your credit card here. We know you like it. You can do all these fun things. So I created, okay, when we have a UTM that says conference, let's say I post on LinkedIn and say, I need more conference talks. I need to attend to more. Click here if you want to see more about me. Well, people that click that link give a real action and a real thing, a signal that says, okay, I want to see about personalization or I want to personalize content for conferences. But this is similar to if you buy a ticket at a conference and you go back to the homepage, it shouldn't tell you buy a ticket. It should tell you, thank you, lovely to see you, right? That's personalization in its simplest form, but you need that. Otherwise, it feels silly. All right, so about personalization and my conference speaking interest, and then I make another one, and this is where it comes in from Netlify, is my country code is France. And this information I have from Netlify.
So this comes from the context object that comes off of the Edge function. Is that correct?
Okay. Exactly. So when you look at, so right now we just configured some signals. There's a lot of other things that we're not going to go into now because it's going to be a 5-hour stream. The one thing that's interesting is the quirks. Quirks are key value pairs that you can fill out. And when the page loads or when the edge loads, it puts these into our tracker. And because they are set a certain way, personalization happens by default. So without user actions, right? And in this case, my country code is France. And this is now, when I load the page, this is always there because I am in France and Netlify told me this. But what you can also do is actually have this happen. And on the edge, you can say, oh, this person works at that company because of a cookie that they had. And their company is between 5 and 10 people. And that can be set as a quirk. And by default, my page will be personalized. So if you go back to Derek's question, when somebody actually has a Shopify login or something, or they have a purchase history, by default, when you render the page through the quirks, you can actually set that history for that user. And then so you go to the page and it's always by basically page load, it's personalized to that stuff. So you can push a whole bunch of information from your CDP or CRM in here. And through the edge, the information is there. Because when you actually look at this, let's go here and we do here, uniform data. Oh, I need to zoom that in a bit. You can actually see here that my country code is France, and the strength of the signal is 50 points, the fact that I came from France. And based on this is just data that's in the app. So stuff is happening based on that now, which is pretty interesting. But I could also add in anything custom from here. And if you had like, let's not go too deep. Let's just do it. How about that? Because there's so much to talk about here. How about if I'm in France, I want to see a different hero than you in the US.
Okay.
All right. So the only thing I have to do, let me zoom out just a bit so it looks better. Personalize this. I click it. And now you see there's a new tree structure here on the top. And you can actually call it hero personalization. And every time I personalize, I want to see one result, because you can also make a search result of 15 and show the last 5 that match the best. And so this actually goes to your Google Analytics, where you can really see the differences in personalization in your analytics as well. So this is my default. I'm just going to show Netlify is awesome to everybody in the world. But now we go to France. And I actually add another one. I'm going to get another hero. And I'm actually going to select my own thing. And then a media item. See, this is the question from Derek. I have not logged into Cloudinary now. So inside Uniform, I can actually now say, okay, let's log in with my one password here. And now this just closes and I go back to Uniform and now I'm logged into Cloudinary's widget to select something. And you see, I prepared myself. I'm in France. Well, we're going to go extra French now. What I now need to do, so we didn't actually say, hey, this is the French version. That's why it says invalid on the top.
Oh, okay.
We go down and say add some criteria. And so we're going to say I am from France and the score needs to be higher than, let's say if the score is 50, you know what? It's going to be greater or equal to 50. And now, when I hit save here, let's see if the preview already takes this. Likely not, because I need to tell Netlify about this stuff, and we haven't yet. Yeah. But basically, the idea is now that if there's a signal that I'm from France and it's the strength is 50 or higher, I'm going to show something in French. And what we can actually do is have a look at that data. You see, oh, there's some errors here. So let's just publish this in a sec. You see, my strength is already 50 set by this default thing. So now what we should do is let's just publish this whole composition. And now that I published it, you can actually see here that Netlify, yes, should be building. It should happen. Ah, there we go.
There it goes. Just took it a second to fire everything off.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure what this integration is. We might just be polling it, or it's a WebSocket or something, or probably it's a webhook. Anyways, we are now literally building in Netlify because I just hit publish, right? So we can just go to Netlify and see how that works.
Building. So we're rebuilding the entire site, right?
For now, we set it up that way, but you could potentially also, of course, rebuild only that one bit. But I haven't set that.
You can use like on-demand builders.
Exactly, yeah. Right, so it's building a whole bunch of stuff. Oh
no.
Happening. I love this. This never happened.
Looks like we've got environment variables, edge functions.
Something fails. It's something with one of my
invalid JSON response body.
I might need to just kick it off again because maybe Vercel didn't reply with my code. Never know.
And so if anyone didn't notice, you clicked there and you clicked clear cache and redeploy. So you actually killed all of the cache that you had before.
And now we're trying to. Yeah, just to be safe. It's going to take a bit long, but it likely works. You see, there's like removing some cache stuff here. And so basically we are now rebuilding this thing. And you can see that here due to our integration, which is pretty cool. While this is happening, let's see if it works in a sec. So basically, we now say, okay, we're from France. We're going to show you a hero with a French dude. But how about these products, right? If you have a conference interest, maybe we should show some different products. And maybe the defaults are a little strange. Wait. How about we'll just do Nuxt 101 because I like Nuxt a lot. And we do Core Web Vitals Consulting as default products here. Okay. But we actually want to personalize to anything and everything that I have sales-wise for conference speaking. Right? So we can actually hit personalize and we say products. And we just add another one, products.
Got some nice ASMR keyboard.
Yeah, we have fancy stuff going on here.
Nice.
How about like how to build your brand? That's kind of conferencey. Tips and tricks to record yourself if it's virtual. How about we add these two now for specifically if you have this conference speaking interest. And if it's bigger than 10 points or something, so it will just hit easy. Okay, so how about that build? It really did uncache.
It does have a exclamation point, so it looks like something is still. No, maybe it's. Oh, it's live.
Oh yeah, this is just that some
Oh, okay.
not paid yet. And look, they just keep it even in another account. They show me, hey, you have to pay. Netlify is good with that. They send emails every day.
Oh,
How about that?
and there we go. Nice. Okay, we just needed
I
to clear
clearly
the
didn't look
cache.
at the design because this is pretty hard to read, but I have my French dude here now.
You
Um,
do.
if anybody that's not in France goes to timbenniks.netlify.app, they will not see the French dude. Unless
I'm
if you're
gonna
in
go
France,
and
you
show
will.
that.
Oh yeah, you should.
Okay,
You
so I'm
share your
gonna
screen
share
and
my
we share something
screen
else.
and share screen, share two, and then I'm gonna switch to mine, and we have
How about that?
Netlify is awesome. And then if we go back to Tim's screen, we
Yeah,
have
another one
French guy.
because I'm in France, and this is how the personalization with the Edge just rendered this.
That is
But
incredible.
how about we publish the next version? Because I did this thing for conference speaking, right? So let's publish this one. And then these products are going to change. Like right now, the default products are actually just these two that I have on my screen here. But
Hmm.
when you have this conference speaking interest, you can actually have how to build your brand and tips and tricks. So let's see. Oh, okay, so it's still building here. Now this should be faster because we didn't uncache it. There we go. Um, Normally it can probably also work in preview, but I just want to be super sure that also people from who are in the audience go to the site, they'll see those differences. But
Absolutely.
what I've built here now is the conference speaking interest. It's either we have the string, the UTM string, or we actually went to that URL, and basically it scores 50 points every time. And here on the left, you can see, I'm not sure if that's big enough. We basically, yeah, we set it up to be only for this session, or permanent, or transient. And so what
So you can,
sometimes what it can do is like for the whole for forever it will remember that you did this, and it just put it in IndexedDB or just have a first party cookie or something. You can also choose to do it without cookies. It can just be in memory if you want. But you can also say it slows down over time, so when you come back in a month it's no longer personalized, or in 2 months or something like that. Or it's just now because maybe you clicked on a button and you did something fun, and then next time you come back it should not be personalized. All right, we are live. All right, you want to see? Okay, I really hope it's going to work. Let's go to the speaking page. And I went to the speakers page, right? These are all my conference talks. How about this Jamstack Conf? I'm so happy with that one.
yes, I'm so excited. We're finally going to get to meet in person.
Awesome.
Yay.
Okay, so I went to speaking, and now I go back to the homepage.
That is happening November 8th, by the
November
way. I
8th.
should get a link to that.
Yeah. Look at my products. They just changed because I went to
They
the speaker.
did.
It's cool, right?
They just updated.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And so now I have different products because I went to conferences. And so this is just two simple explanations, right? And so you can go super deep. You can make things match up together and do different things. And this was rendering on the edge. So let me just do a Shift Command R, like really a hard refresh.
Okay.
That's how fast that loaded with
Yeah.
personalization, right? This is, I don't know. Let's check how fast this is. And as you can see, I turned the debug on, right? It's actually doing hero personalization, product personalization here, just to show you.
So you can
But
see everything going on.
exactly. But we can probably just see, where is my homepage? Maybe, what am I doing? Am I filtering this somehow? Yeah, let's go to the, okay, let's try that again. Okay,
Oh, there it is.
how fast was this? Is there timing? Yep. 79 milliseconds, but this is fully personalized based on my country and the fact that I like conferences. Let's see how
So
fast I
you're
can get
getting
it.
2 separate personalizations.
And you should know, I'm loading this from France on a 4G connection while I'm actually streaming to you.
What?
And this
You're
is
on
you.
4G?
Yes, it's pretty stable. But if you load this, it's going to be like 45 milliseconds or something.
Oh my goodness,
Let's
that
see.
is
If I click
insane.
this again, Yeah, for me, on average, you see the content download is a bit big, so I have some latency, I think.
Because the site is actually cached on the CDN on Netlify, so you're getting
Yeah,
that
sure.
static site benefits of the cache site,
Oh, exactly.
and then you're just injecting those personalization bits, and that's
that happens on the edge. And the beauty of this is when I now go to other pages, and of course we didn't set up many things now to make that personalization happen, but now it just took it in hydration time.
so
So I
we've been
never.
talking.
Sorry.
Sorry, we've been talking a lot about the edge, and I don't know if we actually explained like what the edge is. So it's taking those CDN nodes that we have the cache static assets on, and it's putting your serverless functions out on the edge on those nodes so you can load your data closer to your user.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Don't say anything else.
Okay, done.
I can probably show you how we do it. I think I just have to find it because our docs were just updated, and it's really cool. Remember, I sent you that link, right?
You sent me
that link about the Edge stuff with Netlify, but I cannot find it now.
You did somewhere. I will have to find it. My colleague Selma is doing an Edge talk in a couple of days, I think, at More Serverless. I will get that link to in just a minute.
Here we go. I found it.
Yeah, and I just found it too.
Yeah, so there's lots of things going on here, right?
Yes.
So we choose some Edge functions, we have some CDN things, and we kind of choose, hey, what are we going to send, yes or no? Because the lovely thing about Next.js in this case is my subsequent page loads are not hitting the edge.
It's tomorrow, Print said. So go register. It's free. It's virtual. Go register.
Oh, I'll definitely go there because
more MOAR.
Yeah, that's how I would say it, right? The lovely thing about Next.js, but also Nuxt and probably some others, is that subsequent pages that I load now are basically just Ajax calls, right? It became a single page app. So I'm not even hitting my Edge functions now, but personalization still happens because we also do it on hydration time. And only when I hard refresh now it went over the edge. You didn't even see it move because it was that fast.
No, I didn't. I was like, it didn't refresh.
Let me click refresh. There it is. This is insane. This is how fast Netlify is. This is literally just
incredible.
And so what is interesting here, sometimes when you make these rules really intricate, which you can go crazy, it's going to be really hard to QA. Because how do you simulate somebody doing certain things in a certain order to then personalize? So we built this little tool here. And this is like our, how do you call this? Like it's like a debug tool. And I'm not sure if it's big enough on the stream, but you can actually see.
Is this an extension?
This is it's a Chrome extension.
Okay.
And it actually found all the signals because I turned debug on my website. And actually it found that I went to this conference speaking interest twice. I went to the page twice, and I am from France, and that happened once. So there's some scoring going on here. And I could even configure it in such a way that if there's more score for conference interest and a lot less for I am from France, I'm just not going to show that French thing anymore. And you can even do some what if, right? I can actually say my conference interest score. You know what? We can actually, let's just remove them. Let's see. Maybe if I set it like this. Oh, there's interesting.
Modify the current score value.
So I just set my score to I'm from France to 3 rather than 50.
And it updated
now
behind the scenes.
It just directly went back. And so what if I make my score about conference speaking also very low? It just goes back to the old one. But if I actually say, you know what, this is going to be pretty high.
And so it is refetching those edge functions every time too.
This is hydration time.
Okay.
So this is not touching your edge, so it's not going to be expensive.
So it already knows those.
Yeah, you know what's beautiful? We have the JSON file, right? That manifest of all the options that we made in Uniform is now built into the bundle.
Oh, okay. So
on build, we literally do this. Let's go to package JSON. When I build, I do download manifest. And it just adds it into my library here in my lib folder.
And so you have the manifest, and then once it fetches the Edge functions, it adds that to the manifest, so it knows in the future. That's brilliant.
So my manifest file knows I have a conference speaking interest here. The strength is 50, and it can maximum go to 100. And there's a whole bunch of extra things, like here, there's your query string. The fact that I'm from France is here. And so my code knows about this. But what my code also knows about is this. When I actually publish this thing, when I go to my homepage, my code knows about all these things, right? So it has literally JSON for those two heroes already in the code because it queried them. And so when you look at the source of what this page has, and when I say source, please show me the source. Interesting. I might have to turn preview on. So now it's turning Next.js preview on.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. Basically, my slot that was before was just saying hero. It now says personalization here. And then it has hero number 1 with a certain score that I'm from France. And then there's another hero for when I'm not from France. So my code has the configuration and it knows about the fact that there are two heroes, one from France, one without.
And it looks
that the only thing it has to do is just look at the scoring that was given in our cookie or in our index.dp or wherever, and it just says, oh, my score is now that I have in my cookie is not high enough, so I'm not going to show it. And that's why we can build these kind of amazing tools, because we can just literally change the score on the window object to, let's make this run really high. So my conference speaking interest now is high, right? Really low. It just changes back. Because our SDK just knows all the information and just changes it up. And that's why this personalization is ridiculously fast if you combine it with Edge. Because how about we just delete all this stuff and we refresh the page. So now it went back to what it was. So I went to speaker. So I have these products, right? Now I'm going to turn off my JavaScript. So no hydration, nothing. It's just a page. So I have a little tool here. So I turn off the JavaScript, it refreshes the page. So now I don't have JavaScript at all, but it's still personalized because Edge.
Because it's already in the JSON and it's just reading.
Yeah, the Edge knows because the Edge knows what to render. So now when I go to other pages without JavaScript, you see how different it actually loads. It has to it's struggling a little bit more. And now when I go to the homepage, it's still personalized. If I turn on the JavaScript again, it goes to the lovely way that Next worked with prefetching links and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then you can see that it's much faster again. And it's still personalized. And so the beauty is here that you don't need JavaScript and you don't need a fast device to actually have this personalized if you use Netlify Edge. So you have best of both worlds. That makes it the hardest thing to build, because we spoke about 1 hour and 16 minutes now to get to here. But isn't this cool?
That is really cool. And the fact that you can just disable JavaScript, and to reiterate that you're on a 4G network right now doing all of this and streaming. And so, I mean, even some latency there probably. So it's even faster.
Oh yeah, it's going to be way faster if you are actually, let's say, in the US somewhere close to this server. It's going to be crazy fast. Like my colleague in San Francisco has it go as low as 20 milliseconds if you build the page well.
So close to which server? So you said it's running on the Edge. So would it not be running on the server closest to you?
I honestly don't know where the Netlify Edge lives now. This experimental stuff on the free package that I'm using, I don't know if it's close to me.
It should be on the server that's closest to you. So the Edge will deploy to our CDN nodes, and it runs your serverless functions just on those CDN nodes.
Then this is probably coming from Paris or Berlin or something.
Yep, probably Paris.
Or Ireland, maybe even something like that.
Yeah, something within your vicinity.
Yeah. So I think we went quite deep. We did a lot of stuff here. And of course, this is a very simple website. Does it make a lot of sense to do it here? Maybe not. But
you can see the power and how you can scale that.
Think about Jamstack Conf. I buy a ticket or I share my badge. I'm going, and you put it on Twitter. You can completely personalize Jamstack Conf in a Jamstack setting with Next.js or Nuxt with this tool without too much effort. Like I can give you the code in 10 minutes to actually set this up, because there's not much going on for this personalization other than in my app, I add uniform context as a context component around rendering my component here. You set edge or not. And then there's this manifest, and there's a few bits and pieces to
Does
kind
that
of.
work the same in Vue with uniform context? Does it have
Oh,
like
it's
the
much easier
context
in
for?
Vue. But yes,
Okay.
you know why it's easier in Vue? Because it's more black box. We made a Nux module that just takes care of it for you. And in
Oh,
React,
interesting.
much more low level, you can totally choose exactly like, and you can do these things also if you want, of course, in Vue with all the with all the details. But here, this is basically a little hook that creates uniform context.
Uh-huh.
And it's in, you see, in this case, we're using cookie, but you can also use anything else, whatever you want. And I enabled my dev tools, that little Chrome extension, and I
Yep.
also enabled debug. And so from the console, I can change my personalization now. So this is completely plugin based. So if you wanted to add, let's say, some specific logging of what people do in personalization and send it to your CDP or CRM or whatever, HubSpot or something, you just make a plugin and it gets the whole context of all the personalization, and you can send it anywhere you want. So we don't do the personalization, the analytics because of GDPR, but you can choose exactly how you want to do that.
Ah,
And
okay.
there's not that much more going on. Like if you just use the composition and the slot components that Uniform gives you, they will know, hey, this is a personalization slot. So let me now, based on whatever my tracker knows about this person, just show the right thing. So that's why we built this SDK, because it takes all the magic out of it. It just builds it for you. You don't have to go
Very
deep.
nice.
You
And
can build it yourself, but you don't have to.
I missed a couple of questions here. So Kev had one about, is it using service workers? And I don't know when that was. So were you
A
talking about?
while ago, no, I don't think it is.
Okay.
However, if you use Nuxt 3 with its Nitro engine, you can actually run this whole thing, the whole website, in service workers. But that's quite on the edge as well, quite bleeding. But no, it's
Yeah.
not using service workers. It's literally just using plain old JavaScript. We could do it in service workers, but it complicates the thing a little, right? More moving parts.
Yep. And oh, I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah. So the other one was, is this open source? Can it be self-hosted? And I'm assuming that's talking about Uniform.
Uniform itself cannot be self-hosted. We are a SaaS company, so we just host this on AWS, and you make an account and you use our service like you would use Contentful.
Yep.
But we are not like a headless CMS that you can host yourself, because we went with this as a SaaS approach because we do updates every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. And if you made that a solution that you can also host yourself, remember GitLab or GitHub for professionals? Oh man, what a problem. And so no, not like that. But the website that comes out was just a website, whatever you want to build, right? And so we showed a lot of things, but all of those are kind of open and totally tech agnostic, and you can kind of choose whatever
Do
you
you want
want.
to talk at all about pricing and like what the free tier looks like and how you can try it
Yes,
out?
of course. You can actually, let's see, shall we just, okay, how about we make a completely new account with a free app, everything free. This is nice. I now get to show you our new onboarding. That is literally like a day or two.
Nice. And like you were saying, you're adding features constantly, so it's
All the
always
time.
updating. Yeah.
So there might be one hiccup now because I was logged in prior. So I wonder if I make a free account now, if it tells you, hey, you're logged in. But with that caveat out of the way, you go to uniform.dev/free. Anyone here who wants to make a free account, you just go here.
Free.
Oh yeah, put it in the chat. There you go. So create a
Okay.
new account.
Make sure I spell it correctly.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
I know.
Okay, so here we go. So we now go into this new thing. So I'm just going to make a new account. We have a Google Suite, so I can just do this, and now suddenly it's a new email address.
What is this magic?
Oh yeah. if you have a Gmail account, you can just do your normal account and do a plus and something, and it's a new email.
And it
And it
just,
just redirects back to your normal email.
that is fantastic.
Yeah,
I
that
did not
helps
know
me
about
out
that.
because I make new accounts constantly to test
All
stuff.
the time. Yeah.
Okay, so we just made this whole new thing. You can also just go to GitHub, like do whatever
Yeah.
you want. I just have all my accounts exhausted now, so I just make new ones like this. Okay, so I am now in this new thing. So I'm
It
like,
worked.
yeah. We love to know what you do and how you work, because we need to figure out our scope of who do we talk to. So that's why we asked this. So I'm a developer. No, you know what? I'm a content creator. Actually.
Does that personalize it for you?
It will in the future, not now. Like we use our own tools everywhere in the app. Like our own website was personalized so much that when I joined Uniform, I didn't realize it was personalized. That's how good it works.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
And
so
that's a funny question there between developer and content creator. That's the ongoing DevRel. Like, what are we? What do we do?
well, I don't know anymore. The only thing I can tell you is I've been a developer for many years at agencies, going from just a junior PHP or something developer or some front end stuff with jQuery. Yes, I'm old. I remember when jQuery came out and our lives changed. And so from that until being tech director of 48 offices for front end, I was always developing. And now I just went totally different direction. I'm a DevRel making content, but actually developing all the time. Otherwise my content is boring.
Yeah. So
Right?
you're doing
So
both.
I wish I had checkboxes rather than radios here. I'm going to give some feedback.
So you could check multiple.
Exactly. So creating my account. So now we actually go into a completely new thing. Welcome. Everything is awesome. Thank you. If you want a free call, you can click this, which is kind of fun.
Someone wrote some jQuery today, David Thomas.
You know
Yeah.
what? If you are into DOM manipulation, there is no better than jQuery. Let's be honest.
jQuery is still like 70% of the internet. There's a great meme out there about like React being over here on the side and Svelte and Vue like fighting behind them, and then jQuery just sitting over there like sipping coffee in the corner, like just running the entire internet.
Every monolith you get now, from WordPress to Shopify to Sitecore to Adobe, they include jQuery, all of them. So
wow,
it's easy adoption, right? And it works.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If you're a vanilla JavaScript coder, jQuery is a savior. I remember like when Safari became the IE6, we were very happy with jQuery.
You know, something was really good when JavaScript actually starts implementing things because you were so helpful and so good. So
I remember that one. That's great. Anyways, so
sorry, tangent over.
Yeah, of course. All good. So when you come into this, if you don't know what Uniform is, you can just watch this little video I recorded a while back. But what you get in Uniform is you always get a team. And in the team, you can do a whole bunch of projects, because people always want a QA environment and a developer one and a production one. Those are just your projects, right? And so it kind of explains the thing you can do. You can go to the docs, but it made a project for us. Okay, so let's just get started here. So this is our new project. And basically, what you can do is it gives you a bunch of stuff here. And this is for the audience. This is a nice one to go through because they basically pre-installed stuff. So you can click on this one to connect to like a super out of the box, completely clean Nuxt or Next project. Or, and this is more fun, let's go to this one. So this is a starter site. And it actually looks like this, and it's running on Netlify. So it's Uniform Conference because we like conferences. This is our starter app. So let's install that. And so now this is basically an integration into Uniform, but it's just a starter app. So it's building now compositions, components, integrations, the whole thing. And then you can actually choose, okay, do I like Next, or do I like Nuxt 3, or do I like StackBlitz?
Just want to run it on the web.
Yeah, you can just run it on StackBlitz and just try it. However, I tried this morning, and there's a little bug, so I'm not going to show you now.
Okay.
You want to just for fun do a Nuxt one? Nuxt 3?
Yeah, absolutely. Since we already did Next.js, let's show something different for our Vue fans.
Derek's comment. He actually wrote an HTML site in vanilla JavaScript and Airtable. You know what? That's such a valid project. It's so easy, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Airtable is great.
Reminds me, I need an integration for Airtable.
There you go.
It's not hard to write. If anybody here wants to write a custom integration for Uniform, you do Airtable. I'll send you a whole bunch of swag. I have lots of swag, as you can see. Okay, so let's just do the Uniform Conf next. For that, okay, we're like off script here, but I like it.
I know, right?
This is the shit.
Okay. This is when we come to like the live coding, like
real
live coding.
Start. And I like Vue personally a lot. I also like Next. I've recently learned, but okay, here we go. Now we're just going to clone this one. Okay, that was really fast.
We can all have our preferences, right? They all work. Use the right tool for you. It's fine. I like Svelte. You
know what? I love Svelte, and I cannot wait till I have time and make an SDK into Uniform for Svelte.
Well,
it's a matter.
If you're doing it for Svelte Kit, wait a minute, because there's lots of changes coming.
Oh, okay. It will definitely be Svelte Kit, because we like kind of the functionality stuff with the serverless functions and the API
the meta frameworks.
Yeah, we're using all that. So I'll wait a sec. Okay, here we go. So we just did that. Here, this is really interesting and really handy. So now we actually generate the environment variables for you, which means this is a read-only API key and your project ID is here. Because before, when we didn't have this onboarding, we actually had to make a Uniform API key yourself on the team level and then assign it to a project. And then what can you see in blah? And then people just like, okay, crap, I don't want to do this. So we just made this quickly now. And so I can just go to my environment variable. This is actually pre-filled with something like for a demo, but I'm actually just going to do it with like my proper stuff that we just created. And then what we need to do is
that's nice.
Exactly, npm install npm run dev. We can do that.
So we're installing legacy dependencies. Does this have something to do with the fact that npm?
We don't have to do that anymore, but we used to.
Oh, okay. The peer dependency thing, is that why?
Our Nuxt packages were in alpha mode. So right now we're on version 17, but the Nuxt packages were at 17.nuxt.160 or something. And then there were per dependencies, and it was kind of weird. And so to be safe, we put that in there. But now we have the final release. It's version 17, and you don't need to do it anymore. So that's why I just did npm install and like, okay, it works.
That is one of the peer dependencies things that people have been talking about recently that are coming up with npm. Yeah,
and then we have pnpm with the shamefully hoist stuff, and like, oh, it's never like, I like Yarn because I don't have to do anything. I just type it in and it works.
Oh, really? I use pnpm. I like pnpm, but I haven't done the shamefully hoist.
It was so fast that I didn't trust it.
It is so fast. It's like, what just happened?
Anyways, I just ran this, and this is Nuxt version 3. Did you see how fast that happened?
I did,
a little insane. And we now have, oh, there it is. It just works. So
it just works.
We've done our onboarding in, let's say, 2 minutes, and it just works.
That was really fast.
So let's go back to where we were. So let's see if there are any more steps. So you can go to localhost. So we can learn how this was put together, which is basically our tutorials. This is the enhancer bit that I showed you like a while back. And we have some CLI stuff. And okay, so let's not click here, but literally just go to Canvas and see what was just created for us. So it built us these pages. And it built a component library. Look.
You didn't have to go into Uniform, create anything.
No,
you just signed up, you copied it, put it into your account, and ran it on localhost, and everything just magically.
And what I can now do is do Yarn or npm build and then Netlify production or like Netlify publish. Let's do that in a sec. We're just going to put.
Do you use the CLI? Is that?
If you want to.
Oh, I didn't know if you were like using the Netlify CLI to publish it.
You can also just do this. Well, before we do that stuff, look, it just made us a page and it made us a whole bunch of things and it included personalization.
What?
That's cool. Yeah, it just did the whole thing for you. And so when you go to Uniform Conf, this is interesting, right? And you have to pay attention here because we are not a CMS. We only point to sources. But We didn't want you to have a starter kit connected to a CMS that you didn't have access to. So we literally just added text fields for everything. So now, as a developer, this is essentially your micro CMS, so you can get coding.
It's basically what a CMS does, without maybe the models and the schema and the other stuff.
Well, we have that a little, but we don't want that because that's not what we are. But to give you the demo, you just fill out some fields.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you're actually a marketer profile, we show you a different hero when you're a developer. So let's go to the homepage here. Let's click on for developers, right? So right now it says, welcome to the conference. I have a developer talk track. Okay, you're more of a developer now. I go back home. My hero changed to developer. But also, you see the talks are all developer.
Oh my goodness.
And when I can also say forget me. And now my talks are a mix of marketers and developers. Or I can go to marketing and go back home. And now my talk tracks have changed.
It's so fast.
And yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? You can also do kind of things like registration and complete the registration. You are now successfully, and then now it says, thank you for joining. So it's personalized. It knows I bought the ticket. It will now, like when I now go to like a new tab and go to this page again, it will just tell you, okay, you've registered. It has now personalized for you. And it just works. And if I click forget me, it goes back. It's
so
all
like you were saying earlier, Jamstack Conf, if you go there and you've already registered, instead of showing you register now, it could show you like, thank you for registering.
Yeah. And what if you signed up for one of the workshops? We're going to show you different content and blog posts and sponsors and whatever. It's so easy to do.
Yeah.
And it's literally a matter of clicking things around and setting up personalization. You see, we're going to show you different talks. Here, we actually made something called an audience for non-techies, right? And then you say certain things. But when the audience is techies, it's going to show you different things. And it's just really, and there's even an A/B test running. I'm not even sure if we saw that happen. Actually, so we'll probably just, I'm not sure if I can show that now because it said in my session, this is the A/B test that you're going to say. And so the A/B test is actually, it's the variant is Y attend on the right or Y attend on the left. So it's literally just changing this, the left and right. Anyways, that was pretty easy, right? So
yes,
the next steps would be to not have it in just text fields. The next step would actually be to go to an integration and it says, hey, well, you have hello world and you have marketing, right? But should we just add the CMS? Let's just add a CMS.
And that was super speedy too. It didn't even show your login stuff.
Oh, it's all off. I was already logged in.
Yeah.
Now I choose the space in Contentful that I have access to, which is did bad boy. So this is my Tim Benniks space. Using it as a free account works really well. So now that we have Contentful integrated, we can actually go and let's say, oh, not settings. We go back to my homepage and say, how about we change this hero? Let's add something from Contentful here. So we can actually edit this component now.
Just casually add a CMS.
Yeah,
Nick
why not?
Taylor.
We go, we say, you know what? We do a Contentful entry. And all I want to see is heroes, because this is a content type I have in Contentful.
Okay.
And let's call it an entry.
Someone asked, how large is your team? Do you mean the DevRel team at Uniform, or?
DevRel is me.
You're killing it.
I am sweating, and it's a lot of work. I'm a little stretched thin, but I love it so much. Basically, we have like, I think it's 40 people strong in our dev team now.
Nice.
And then there's 20 to 30 more in sales, support, customer success, stuff like that. We have a bunch of amazing people in marketing. So it's not a big team yet, but you see how solid this is. Like, this is a typical company where the product is really solid and then the marketing is catching up a bit, which is a company you want to work at, because if the marketing is amazing and the product is not there yet, as a DevRel, you're just fighting all the time.
That's difficult, yeah.
It just doesn't work. And this
but
is
if the product is amazing, then you can show it.
Script. I had no idea we were going to do this, and it just kind of works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we added a hero entry to our CMS. Let's save and close. Okay, well, now we just select this guy, and there is my entry. So how about we select that Netlify is awesome thing that we just selected, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we have a CMS entry added to this. Okay, let's save and publish, and let's have a look at what now comes out in the source here.
I noticed this earlier, the $sign, is that signifying the dynamic personalization data in the JSON there?
Yeah, exactly. There's this, right? Like this is basically becoming like, this is a type that's ours. That's a uniform type. Stefan, yes, please. Yes, yes.
Absolutely hiring. Do you have a hiring link? I'll throw that out there.
Actually, I don't, but Stefan, reach out to me on Twitter and we can chat, because I tried to get people like Brittney, but she went to cooler company.
Oh, I didn't know he was going to call that out, but yes.
No, it's just, I'm just having some fun here. Anyways, basically if a type is uniform, we just put $1 there. So we know in our code, we can always rely on that. Helps for end-to-end testing, things like that. But basically, we just added in that one hero, which one is the last one? Here, we just got a contentful entry here. And so in one of them, there's a contentful entry. So how about we actually now code this thing? Let's add some code to the page based on that hero, right? So this is the default hero we were looking at. This guy, oops, here. Yeah, where is my uniform? Didn't we have a contentful item somewhere?
Yeah, didn't you do the is awesome somewhere? Did it drop off?
I don't know. Did I somehow mess it up? Oh, no, I didn't. I was at the wrong tab. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
So,
too many tabs open. That's
yeah, this is one of those, because we're just
another developer problem, like just so many tabs.
There is a new browser coming with tabs on the sidebar, so it's much easier. But it's called
I've heard about that.
It's called Arc. I want it, but I'm not on the list.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's code some stuff. So now we basically have this entry to query, right? So we are in Uniform Next now, and in this slug, look, how close does this look to Next.js? Composition slot, same thing.
It looks the same.
And so basically in our hero component, we have a few props, but in my TypeScript, what we also need to get is this entry thing. And it's not actually a string. And you know what? For now, let's do this, because I don't actually know what it is. It's a component parameter stuff that I have to import, but I don't know it by heart. So let's just.
So is this TypeScript in Vue that I'm looking at? I'm not familiar with Vue, so I'm trying. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, if you add lang is TypeScript in a Vue file,
how it works in Svelte too.
It's kind of similar, I guess, as SvelteKit, right? Because it has Svelte files.
Yeah, it's .svelte files, and then the lang equals TS is the same, but the defined props there is different. So is that something coming from Vue?
In Next. This is a Next function. Oh no, it's a Vue function. And then the prop that you define are actually TypeScript, which is very nice. Because before you have to say prop is a type of string, and you have to use it. It's all JavaScript. Now it's just TypeScript, which is very nice.
Yeah, that is.
So we have our title here. So how about here? Oh no. I would say let's just do this.
Yeah, I think, Rev, we're going to try to show that off in a little bit here. After we're done looking at the code, we'll try to deploy from the CLI.
Yes, let's do that. So let's see if that entry is coming through on my local.
I do like one tab too, David. I use one tab for my tabs. You can just click it and it collapses all of them down.
I'm just going to close all of them.
Let's just purge them all.
So what I just did is I just logged out that entry ID here, right? And this came from Uniform. From here, this entry ID now came into Uniform. So now I can do something with this. But remember that we had this enhancer thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now we don't have that, so there's only the idea. So what we'd have to do is add an enhancer. And I'm wondering, I could do that now, but it's going to take us like 10 minutes. or I can show you some code that does that, and then we don't actually add it in. What do you think?
10 minutes.
Bit
That'll
long.
give us 5 minutes to deploy. Let's.
Yeah.
Either way,
Basically, let me just show you some
maybe
code.
can you show it and then copy and
I'll
paste
just
it?
show it in another project so we know it. I think this is actually, let's see, this one.
That's my favorite, like copy paste code I've already written over.
Yeah, or right
Copy
now, I
pasta.
might actually just show it in a different way. So basically what you can do is, oh, I don't do it in this project. Okay, we're totally off script now. Another project. Yes, this is where I do it. All right, so what I've created in this project is something that I call use enhance, which is basically a hook, but in
Yep.
Vue.
Yeah.
I
React
might,
stole hooks, but they are not just React things.
no, they're called composables.
Yes.
And so basically, what I'm doing is I make an enhancer builder, and for every component type that is actually contentful, I'm querying contentful itself specifically. Right, so I'm querying contentful to get back that information, and then I do a compose. So I also have this model cleaner. So whatever I get from the data from contentful, I actually clean it up with this model and cleaner. So I literally just only grab the title and the image in this case and return it, and then these become the props for my component. Because when you look at the component of this, they have an image and a title, and they just get back this, and that's
This is what we were looking at earlier in the next project where you had the file that cleaned up all of the data.
Exactly. And so basically the only thing you'd have to do, but for now it takes a whole bunch of moving files around, so let's not do it, is you add a hook or a composable, whatever you want to call it, which kind of just grabs your composition, which we have here, right? If you go to the browser, we have the composition with the data. So it basically gives this ID to that like enhancer. And so it gets the composition and it says, okay, this is contentful, right? It's actually, this is contentful, so it knows it. And based on that, where is contentful, it gives it this ID, and that ID returns a whole JSON object from contentful that then actually gets piped to this thing to clean it up. And what you get back is literally just an image and a title prop.
Your props, yep.
Here. And that's how that would work in this instance. How about we just deploy this?
Sure. Okay, so
how is this going to work?
Do you have the Netlify CLI installed? Do Netlify-V. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Do I need to make a netlify.toml file? I think I do, but I can.
You don't have to, because it will set it up in the init command. But we will want to put this on GitHub, so we'll need to do git init and.
Maybe I don't have to. Maybe can I not just do this?
You can run a static build and you could drag and drop it.
Oh, that's definitely not that. What is my package JSON? Is saying, oh, am I in the right one? Okay, so I think I can probably do. Oh, it doesn't know yet.
Yeah, so you don't have it linked to a site. So I would run netlify init. You can also run ntl as the short command for that, netl.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Just init. Okay, let's do that.
Init, and that will init a new site. But for this, you can either connect it to an existing site or create and configure a new site. But to do that, it's going to want you to have it set up with Git, I think. So when you hit enter there, I think it's going to say.
I have not done that before. Okay, so let's go into my team.
Yep.
Site name.
Choose a site name. Or it will automatically generate one for you. How is that not taken? Netlify is awesome.netlify.
I will keep this.
You own that forever now. Authorize with GitHub through the app.netlify.com or authorize with a GitHub personal access token. So either way, probably
I'm already logged in here, right? So
yeah. There you go. So now you can connect it to your Git provider, but your site isn't on GitHub, right?
Oh, it goes back to localhost for my token. That's interesting. That's
That is
about
interesting.
the OAuth signature stuff is dying, basically. Very interesting. That might
Okay.
be a little issue. The
Bug
return
report.
URL for OAuth is broken.
Yeah, usually when I use the CLI, I make sure that I have GitHub set up beforehand or a Git provider set up beforehand.
Okay, how about we just do this?
I use the GitHub CLI too. I love CLIs.
Oh, I have that. How about you teach me?
GH is the GitHub CLI.
Then how do I
So
make a new repo?
GH repo create and hit enter.
That's it. Nice.
And then you push an existing local repository. Oh, you
Did I
did
make-
create it from scratch.
Ah,
Yep. And then the current directory.
this one. Let's call it that. Sure. Public for now. That's all good. My
Yes.
remote. Yeah, it's GitHub, right? That's my
Yep,
remote.
your remote, and it's going to ask you about origin, and I just always hit enter through those.
Yeah, that's fine. Did that just?
And
Enable to add remote origin. That's interesting.
because it came originally, you cloned a uniform project. Was the remote already set up?
You're
So
right.
git remote remove origin, do that, and then you can git remote add origin to your new GitHub project. And then git remote add origin. And I think yours would be your GitHub, or it's actually populating it there, but I think you'll have to change the name of the.
I've done that before, probably. So how we call it uniform conf Nux. That's the one that we just made.
That's the one you just made. Okay, so now that's your remote. So now you can git add, git commit, git push. My earbuds just died. That's how long we've been going. It was just
boy.
like, I'm done.
I'm learning on stream here. How about that?
That is great. I'm going to put some headphones on so I can hear you. Yeah. I love these kinds of streams where we just kind of go off script and just start.
Figure it out. I love it.
Yes. So we
pushed for a bug bounty program. I think Netlify should have one, right?
I'm sorry, what's it asking for?
A bug bounty program.
A bug bounty program.
Like Microsoft has one, probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So bug bounties for like fixing bugs, getting paid for fixing bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Anyway, so it's on Git now. So what do I do next?
Okay, so it's on Git. So now we already ran Netlify init, right? We've already got our site. So now we need to link it. So yeah, you're right. Netlify link. See what that does.
Oh, it's already linked. Oh. What do I do?
I'm hearing something back and I don't know where it's coming from. So I'm like freaking out right now because my earbuds died. Maybe I just got rid of it.
Okay, so it actually has the project, but I don't think it knows about the group yet.
Yeah, so because we ran Netlify first, we ran the Netlify init first before we had it connected to Git. Yeah. I don't know how to connect it to Git through the CLI. So now we'll go back to the dashboard and go to site settings, and then scroll down a little bit. We need to, or maybe it's under deploy settings. I'm sorry, build and deploy. Yeah, link repository. And so now we need to find, I'm sure there's a CLI command for that, but usually I do these in reverse. So I do the GH repo create command first, create my GitHub repository, and then I do my Netlify init command, and it will connect it to the Git repository that you just created. That way.
I've done it before where I didn't need Git at all. So what I did is Netlify build. So it would build a local one. And then I do Netlify deploy -- prod from a folder, and it would just run it. But then it's not connected to Git.
Yeah, you can do that if that build command had ran, but I don't think the build command was working, right?
I agree. I think we have to look at the package JSON to see what we actually need. I think I just need Nux generate for this one now.
Yep, because we didn't create the Netlify toml.
Oh, we didn't do anything else. And we're not going to go on the edge with this. It's literally just going to be a quick site. I'm not sure if dist is the right one. Let me just run that locally and see what comes out. It's probably the dist folder.
So
yeah, it's dist. Okay, we're good.
Dist, and you could actually run the deploy command on that folder that it just created too.
Probably yes. Oh, you know what I forgot? Environment variables.
So in your CLI, I'm going to show you a little trick. Go back to your CLI. So NTL space env :import, and then your file name. So .env.
What?
Right?
It works. I'm so. Oh no! Oh yes.
Isn't that magic?
Did we stop the build now because it got the environment variables after?
Yeah, so you'll probably have to do a refresh and maybe do your trigger deploy again.
I can probably just run it again.
There you go.
This is the way to learn.
Yeah.
In front of a lot of people with someone who knows this stuff. There you go.
We have FYI Fridays coming out on Fridays with little 30-second kind of like TikTok videos, and I just did one on this Netlify env :import.
And there you learn.
That should be coming out in a few weeks, so watch for FYI Fridays.
I will check it, 100%.
And site is live, and let's see what happened.
And now we have our website.
It is live.
And you want to see if it personalizes?
Yes.
Beam. Back. Yeah, it personalizes.
What? It worked.
That's cool, right? And then you can even check this thing, and you can actually see that the personalization is working. And so let's delete the overrides. And actually, let's say, okay.
Someone took over the Netlify account and is sending messages. Feed me your environment variables. I did not send this. Who is hijacking my stream? That is awesome, Noah.
So basically, you see, I set a registration complete to a certain score, and I just showed it here. Or we can just remove it again. And so this is not using the Netlify Edge, but it's completely working with the personalization and the whole composable thing. And now let's do some final magic.
Is that using serverless functions then, or how is that doing that?
It's all just rendered locally.
Okay.
So it's all hydration, no functions, nothing.
Nice.
How about we go here? So this is the URL, right? Let's actually say, let's add a preview. So this is Nuxt, so the preview is slightly easier to deal with. This is now set up, right? So now we go back to the page. And now we have a little preview button here. So when I click on this, now we are in preview mode. Let's put that on the side. And actually, let's change our contentful item here.
Okay.
Go back to this one. We're going to unlink this and select another one.
While you're doing that, Seth came back just to drop Skynet. Like, that's a throwback to the net from a Sandra Bullock movie from the 90s.
Oh, Skynet. That's, I know. It's, yeah, that was like the almost real programming stuff.
Yes.
Anyways, let's have a look at that again. So basically, there's no personalization now. So it's only showing the previous one. So this is the ID here. Let's change this up to another one. And that just changed. Or you can just say
on the live site
to Uniform, save, Beam.
What in the world?
Yeah, and this is now preview on your live site, and it just runs in
and you just got
content style. How cool is that?
A URL parameter there, preview equals true, and it's
and this sets Nuxt in preview mode, and therefore there's a WebSocket going to Uniform now. And every change that happens here is pushed back to this website now. In our SDK with the composition component, we'll just know about it and just show it to you.
Very nice.
And so you can just say, let's do Netlify slicer. So when I hit save now, it says Netlify here. When I remove preview mode now, it goes back to the old one. But when we hit publish, now it actually publishes. but we haven't set up a webhook at all at the moment. So what you'd have to do to see that new change here is actually go back to my deploys and just trigger a deploy from here.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't take too long, I think.
Because it's the webhook isn't triggered to when you publish in Uniform to actually
normally
trigger.
it is, but I didn't set it up.
Yeah, so it has to be set up beforehand. Got it.
So you can either just integrate with the Netlify integration to Uniform and it just set up, or you can do it manually. Like while this is running, you can actually just go to your settings, webhooks, and set up whatever you want. Is this running? I think it's about done.
It should be done there. You might, oh, no, not quite. Site is live. There we go.
And now it's welcome to Netlify. And so that was a relatively quick change.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I think we went over so many things. I don't even know anymore.
We did. I think there's so many great things here and so much magic. And thank you so much for coming on and showing us this. Like, it seems just super powerful and magical, and I love it. And please, everyone, go check out, register for Jamstack Conf. Come and see me and Tim. Tim's going to be speaking there. I'm going to be there with Netlify. So come and join us, hang out, have a good time. And thank you.
One last thing. Can you please come to the Uniform Discord server?
Yes.
I would love to have people that saw this and ask me stuff.
So this is
try it out and show it off. So it's uniform.2/Discord.
Right. Okay.
There we go.
Make sure I got it right.
That was 2 hours of awesome. And I think we both have meetings now.
That was. So we will catch y'all later. Thank you so much for joining us and see you next time.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye. Bye.